Hey folks, it's How to Get Accepted into College here, and welcome to the show. If this is your first time here, I'm a recent Ivy League grad who wants to help you get into your dream school by making videos about the secrets, tips, and tricks you can use at every stage of the admissions process. If you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out with that all-powerful YouTube algorithm, which lets me make more videos for you guys. Today, we've got a video detailing the profile of a student who was recently accepted at Harvard and Princeton, but waitlisted at UVA. Alright, so you might be wondering, what happened? How could Harvard, a school with a, roughly 5% acceptance rate, accept someone that UVA, a school with an about 27% acceptance rate, waitlisted? Well, you're in luck, because that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. And this actually reminds me of my own experience with the college application process. I remember on Ivy Day, I was waiting. I was on a school trip. And we were standing outside an Italian restaurant for dinner. And I was literally staring at my phone as we were out in the line outside waiting to get seated because there's such a large group. I was just checking my phone so nervously as 5 p.m. rolled around. And when it finally did, all those application update emails rolled in. And initially, I just tried not to think about it. I was going to wait until we got back home to open everything up, but I ended up not being able to wait. The suspense was killing me, so I went to the bathroom and locked myself in there for a few minutes. I got so lucky that they had those individual kind of person bathrooms, but I logged into the portals one by one to check my results. And I remember I was going sort of in order from least to most selective, so I opened Cornell first, and I got waitlisted. And I remember thinking uh-oh, this isn't gonna end well. But as I opened up some more of the applications, I did get a few other waitlists, I got a few acceptances, and I did get one rejection. So talk about some mixed signals. Anyway, enough about me. Let's dive into the student profile. And as a quick note, I've changed some of the identifying information so that folks can stay anonymous. We'll call her Joanne. Her intended major was economics, or something close depending on the school that she was applying to. But for example, if you're taking an undergraduate business degree at UVA, if you're interested in the McIntyre School, which is the undergrad business program, you apply to transfer in for your junior and senior years. On the other hand, if you apply to Wharton, another undergrad program, you apply directly in as a high school senior. Note that Joanne applied via Questbridge, which is a great program that you should take advantage of if you qualify. Basically, Questbridge is a program that helps guide low-income students through the college application process. One of the major benefits, though, of Questbridge is their National College Match program, which takes place during the early decision or early action time period. The program basically lets you apply to all of the Questbridge partner schools via a single Questbridge application, and here's the kicker. As part of that application, you rank your top schools, and if you get matched to a school who also ranks you as one of their top candidates, you automatically get a full 4-year scholarship to attend the school. And that's a full-ride scholarship for your undergraduate degree. That includes tuition, room and board, and any student fees, at minimum. And as of this recording, Questbridge partners with some of the most selective schools in the world, including, for example, Columbia, Yale, UPenn, and Stanford. In total, there are about 40 schools you can choose to rank through the program. If you want to check out some more details about Questbridge, I'll leave a link in the description below. Anyway, back to Joanne. She had a 3.85 unweighted and 4.21 weighted GPA, which made her rank 6 out of about 600 people in her school's graduating class. She also got a 1550 on her SAT, with a 770 on math and a 780 on the reading and writing section. She didn't take the ACT. Super quick note here though, these tests do tend to favor certain types of test takers. So I'd highly recommend taking one of each if you can to see which one fits you better. I personally like the ACT much more and ended up scoring way better on it than I did on my SAT on the first try. For Joanne's SAT 2s, she took Math 2 and got an 800, and Bio M and got a 760. Lastly, her school offered AP, those are advanced placement classes, and she took 6 of them over the course of high school. Just to get a sense for her scores, we're not going to go through all of them. She got a 4 on AP Euro, that's European history, a 5 on Calc BC, and a 4 on Bio. So clearly Joanne's a really good student, but there's definitely some room for improvement in her GPA and class rank. Overall though, she's a solid candidate just from the academic side. And this is usually what gets your foot in the door, but not what gets you accepted at these schools. So once your grades and test scores are around or ideally slightly higher than the average accepted students' test scores, you'll see diminishing returns to doubling down just to get that perfect test score. Put that time instead towards building out other parts of your application that will help you stand out even more than a 36 ACT or 1600 SAT. Now, let's check out her extracurricular activities. She was the president of the National Honor Society. She was also the president of her school's DECA chapter and went to ICDC, which is the International DECA competition. If you haven't heard of DECA before, it's basically just a business-focused club for high school students that lets you compete in a bunch of different events so that you can learn more about the skills needed to run or work in a business in the future. She also revitalized and grew the school orchestra to 50 students from 3, which now performs around the community. And lastly, Joanne works at the family convenience store for between 20 and 30 hours every week. So what we see from these activities is that you don't need to do everything on the face of the earth. It's a common pitfall that I see students fall into. It might be easy to think that you need to be a part of every single organization and honor society that your school offers, but what's even more valuable than that is if you can demonstrate leadership, impact, and passion through your activities. Of course, doing that usually takes some time, and we all only have 24 hours in a day, so folks that do this really well usually end up focusing on a concentrated set of activities as opposed to flipping between dozens of them. Of course, there are exceptions where some students can make a really big impact with almost anything they do and end up doing so in dozens of different organizations. That is so rare. There's no need to do it, even if your dream is to get into Harvard. Now, let's dive into her essays. Without getting into too many details, one of her essays focused on certain forms of art as a means for expression and how there was so much potential that currently wasn't being captured there. She then built on that observation to show how she brings people together around art. In another essay, she wrote about a childhood play spot and how it became a place for peace, reflection, and escaping the world when things got a little bit overwhelming, and that this helped shape who she was as a person. From these essays, we can see that Joanne mostly avoids cliches. There's no trope about going to another country and seeing some poverty and having that change your entire life. And we see so many essays like that. Instead, we see introspection and the ability to think deeply about your surroundings and their effects on you. Similarly, we avoid shallow packaged answers. And finally, let's look at Joanne's recommendation letters. First, she got one from her bio teacher, whose class she tried really hard in. She prioritized the class heavily, but definitely wasn't the smartest one in the class. She ended up getting an A- on her report card. Next, she got one from her history teacher, whose class she loved. She had a close relationship with the teacher, and they frequently talked about college and other future plans. Her history teacher also drove her interests in economics. And finally, her mandatory counselor recommendation was pretty generic. She just went to a school that unfortunately was too large to offer personalized counselor recommendations. What about an alumni interview? She didn't do one for Harvard, and that's not necessarily a bad sign. What we can learn here is to build relationships with your teachers. You don't have to do this with the intent of getting a good recommendation, and if anything, that can be a little bit slimy. But you will notice when you click with certain teachers. Build on that and see if you can do additional things around the classroom to show your interest, like offering to help others out or tutoring other students. Your counselor also has a bird's eye view of your high school experience, so I would highly recommend getting to know him or her if you have the chance. There's so much potential there, so I wouldn't just leave it at when you go in once a year to talk about the classes you want to take next year, and then when you go back your senior year to ask for a college recommendation. That's a surefire way to get a template, generic recommendation, where basically they just change the student name box at the top to your name, and that's definitely not going to help your application much at all. Like I said, Joanne didn't do an alumni interview with Harvard. Now, I've met lots of folks who say that that might be a bad sign. The school's not interested in you as an applicant. However, being on the other side, I can 100% tell you that that's not the case. Schools often try to interview all the applicants that they possibly can. In fact, my inbox is bursting with emails that say, please sign up to be an alumni interviewer. We're trying to get as close as possible to a 100% applicant interview rate this year. Interviews really are just another way for the school to get to know you a little bit better and to make sure that you're not a serial killer. But if you don't get invited to do one, don't worry about it. It may just be that there aren't many alums available in your area, or that there were so many applications from your region that all the alums that are in the area are tapped out already. Clearly, you can see that Joanne still got in even without doing a Harvard interview. Now, to just round things out and tie up a few loose ends here, Joanne was also Asian American, a first-gen college student, and went to a large run-of-the-mill public high school. Now, how do we explain the acceptance at Harvard but the waitlist at UVA? One option is what we call rejecting for yield. It's difficult to say when this does happen, but schools, as you might expect, care a lot about their college rankings. With higher rankings comes more prestige, more applicants, more money in the form of application fees, etc. And lots of rankings take into account the yield of the school, which is basically how many of the offers you sent out that were accepted by students. So if you send out 100 offers and 75 of them get accepted, you have a 75% yield. But if you send out 100 offers and only 74 of them get accepted, aka 26 people decline and choose to go to other schools instead, your yield drops to 74%. So you can guess that if schools think you're applying to them as a safety school and that you're probably not going to accept their acceptance of you anyway, they may just preemptively reject you so that their yield numbers stay high. Of course, it still hurts, and it can make the college admissions process really nerve-wracking too. Another thing that may have come into play was Joanne's intended economics major. Schools may have already accepted or over-accepted intended economics majors, and especially if you're applying in the regular decision round. Schools may have already taken lots of students in your intended major during their early decision or early action rounds. What this means, of course, is that you may actually be able to get a small advantage in the admissions process by applying as an obscure or less popular intended major. Now, this doesn't mean you can just do your 4 years in high school and then on the applications put that your true passion is ornithology, that's the study of birds, or financial engineering. You've got to have the credentials and skills to back that up, or it'll be super obvious to admissions committees what you've done. So if you do have a pretty niche interest, I'd actually start developing that as soon as you can. Which brings me to my last point, which is the makeup of the incoming class. Broadly, admissions committees are trying to put together classes of students who, as a whole, are incredibly diverse and impressive. Because of that, if Yale has already accepted lots of, say, Hispanic, high-income students from New England who want to study philosophy, they may shy away from someone with a similar profile, even if that person is most definitely qualified to get into Yale. This is fully out of your control, except to get your application submitted for earlier rounds of applications for the schools that you care the most about. If you know for sure then what your dream school is, I'd highly recommend applying there during your early action or early decision rounds. Just keep in mind that these rounds often do not come with the same amount of information about financial aid or support from schools and are, in the case of early decision, almost always binding. This can be tricky if you're banking on a large financial aid package to be able to afford a school's tuition and other fees. As a last side note, one tip that I wanted to make sure folks were more aware of are update letters. If you're waitlisted, or even if you're just waiting for a result to come out, and you have a major update that you think would strengthen your application, don't be afraid to send the admissions committees an update letter. I did that with my application, and I truly believe that it made a difference at several of the schools that accepted me during the regular decision process. Just be sure to write it in a professional manner, send it with plenty of time before the decisions are released, and make sure that your name and/or your application ID number are noted on it. Anyway, back to Joanne. At the end of the day, her results deserve a huge congratulations. She's going to do big things clearly, no matter what school she chooses. And as you can see from these results, there's always a certain amount of unpredictability with any college application process. If you have a college admissions video you'd like me to react to and/or analyze, or specific questions about certain parts of the admissions process, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.